Hello there. This week in my Facebook group, we are going over buffering. So this live is going to be all about buffering, and we'll start with the basics. So buffering is described as activities that you are doing to prevent you from feeling some sort of negative emotion. So a really good example, and one that is present in my life, is whenever I feel stressed or bored or anxious or sad or mad, I want to eat all the chocolate. And I want to do that. My brain offers that as an option to me because the chocolate that I'm eating offers me a hit of dopamine, and instead of feeling sad or mad or anxious, I feel happy for a split second. And even though in the long run, eating chocolate every time I feel negative emotion is not good for me and causes negative results in the future, my brain doesn't understand that and is going to seek out pleasure for the present moment and not worry about the negative impacts of the future. So buffering is a variety of different experiences, and it manifests in our lives in different ways. For me, buffering has been with food, mainly sweets, television, sometimes wine, and social media. And those are probably the four most common things that we buffer with. And how you know if you're buffering is if you are triggered to do an activity like watch TV or scroll on social media when you are feeling in a negative way. So the thought of I had a really stressful day, I need to get home and have that candy bar or have that glass of wine, or I can't wait to sit on the couch and watch TV for a couple of hours tonight. It's because you're coming from someplace negative and you want to not feel negative. The alternative to not buffering is to allow ourselves to sit in that emotion, negativity, anxiety, sadness, whatever, and just feel it, allow ourselves to feel that way, listen to what our brains are saying, and then work through it. But society has told us a long time now, that any negative emotion is not right and that we're supposed to be happy all the time. So if you're feeling not happy, then you need to do something in order to get happy. And the easiest and most satisfying things are food, social media, TV. So the negative impact of buffering is multidimensional. So you can't just buffer away negative emotions. When you buffer away negative emotions, you're also buffering away positive emotions as a secondhand consequence. So you're not supposed to feel happy all of the time. And the reason is because life is about contrast. So if you felt happy all the time, it would mean nothing to you. It would be meaningless because you would never experience the opposite. Happiness wouldn't feel happy if you never knew what sad felt like, or calm and mad, anxious and content. You need both. So even though we think in our minds that we want to be happy all the time, that's really not what life is about. We need to have both things. So when we are buffering, we're robbing our half of our life experience for superficial things that don't matter. Another negative impact is the formation of unhealthy habits. This became obvious in my life with my weight because I was buffering with food and my spending hours and hours watching TV instead of focusing on my goals and not getting anywhere. And that made me feel uncomfortable because I wasn't growing. Unable to achieve goals. So where buffering came up for me in the most profound way was back when I was studying to take my oral boards. And I needed to find time to study. I had, the oral boards, for those who aren't familiar, an OBGYN is going to sit in a room for 3 hours and have 9 people stare at you and ask you questions, and you just talk to them about all the things that you're supposed to know. It's extremely stressful, and it's humiliating. That's how I felt. It'd be humiliated if I failed. So I needed to set up a time I needed to find time in my day in order to study. And what I realized was that my initial thought was, I have no time to study. When am I going to find time to study? And then I took a real look at the life of my life at that time and what was taking my time, and I realized that 2 to 3 hours of my night was television, and I was eating at the end of the night because I felt stressed. And if I wanted to pass my oral boards, I needed to stop with the buffering, focus my time more precisely, and dig into those negative emotions in order to come out of the other side a stronger person. So why did we want to decrease buffering? Because ultimately you don't have to do that. And I'm not saying that you can never watch TV again, you can never have a glass of wine, you can never have chocolate. Life is not about all or nothing. It's just about having an awareness that that's what you're doing. So I'll be really honest with you. It was like this week where I said, I am craving chocolate right now. I recognize I'm trying to buffer away this emotion of anxiety, and I'm going to do it anyway. But I state that to myself. I don't lie about it to myself. And then I decide on purpose to do it. And I do it infrequently because I'm trying to reach my goal weight in the next 6 months. It's when you bring this opportunity to light that if you're buffering, you want to decrease it, and that's how you get better over time. So the more you can limit buffering, the more productive you're going to be because you will have more time in the day. You will be able to form healthy habits of dealing with negative emotions. So instead of craving chocolate when you are feeling anxious, you might want to go for a walk. And that's a slow process that works for sure. And ultimately, it's going to lead you to have a healthier mind and a healthier body because you will get better at feeling negative emotions, which means you get to enjoy life more. And even though it feels unpleasant to deal with those negative emotions in the moment, trust me when I say that life is more fulfilling. And I know that because I've been doing this for 3 years now. So how to decrease buffering if you decide that that's something that you're interested in doing? The first thing that I would encourage you to do is just take an inventory over the next week of what you're buffering with. If you've never considered this idea of buffering, it's the first thing you need to do is just see like where in your life is it coming up for you. Do you crave a glass of wine after work? Do you want to watch TV in the mornings or after work? Do you want to get lost in social media for hours because you're feeling anxious? Just notice when these buffering activities come up for you and why. What emotion are they in response to most commonly? Don't make any changes the first week. Just recognize what you're buffering with and do this judgment free. And I say this all the time because I was really tempted back 2.5 years ago to judge myself for all the TV that I was watching, but that's not productive. What is productive is saying, this is where I am and this is where I'm going to be as a board certified physician. And that means less TV for me. Once you have an inventory of what your buffering activities are, then the next questions you need to ask yourself are, do you have a goal you want to work on? And what is your purpose? And these are very deep questions for sure. But if you feel a pull of you're feeling stuck, you feel like you need more growth, this is exactly where to hone in on because you can find those minutes and hours in the day and focus them on productive activities that help you achieve your goals. And then I would say a week at a time, decide to find half-hour chunks for a week and decrease the buffering and increase productive activities. So it's not all or nothing. Unless you decide that that's how you want to do it, it really can be a gradual decrease in the buffering activities and an increase in the productivity. So that's the global view of buffering. There's a lot more to unpack here for sure. And if you're interested in knowing more, then head on over to my Facebook group this week where I am diving into more about buffering, more about my story with buffering. You guys have a great night.